It wasn't the podcast that made us, quote, it's not because it was a podcast, and podcasting is easy. Just like if you want to start a YouTube channel or a coffee shop or whatever it is, a personal training practice, a physical therapy practice, an ice cream shop, just because you start that thing doesn't mean that thing is going to be successful.
If you think in probabilities, you're just not going to... That's like... You're more likely to get struck by lightning than win the lottery sometimes, mathematically speaking. You know, you need to think about that. It's... I've never played the lottery. I never have, and I never will.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1789, it's Freestyle Friday. And on Freestyle Friday, we don't really know what we're going to talk about, and we don't have the episode titled. We do this week have an idea of what we're going to talk about, but we don't have the episode titled, and we're just kind of going to figure it out as we go. I saw a clip the other day that I told Alan about, and I said, dude, stuff like this makes me really sad, and it gets me really fired up. And I'll explain what the clip was. The clip was... I think it was a post. I don't think it was a reel or anything. It was a post, and it said, make sure you blow your cinnamon across the doorstep on the first of the month to attract wealth. And when I saw this, I thought it was a joke. Now, I'm going to preface this with I am nervous to talk about this because I'm afraid to get villainized for it. That's one. Two, if what we talk about today is triggering, maybe there is a lesson in there. I'm sure there's a lesson. So please do your best to not villainize us and maybe figure out and sit with and explore maybe what that lesson is. But this is why it makes me so sad. I looked in the comments because that's my natural thing. I see content and I look in the comments to see what is the energy of the response. And there were people in there that said, "Oh, I waited to the second. I'll have to try again on the first next month. Or I've been doing this for the last 4 months and nothing has happened. I'm really excited for when things happen." That isn't real.
Wasn't there some comments that said, I don't know if I'm doing it right or something like that?
There was people saying, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Do I blow from the outside into the house? Do I blow from the inside out? What if I don't do it on the first? How many times do I have to do it? And it's just... I feel like stuff like that preys upon people who are already down and out.
Yeah.
Like, and again, I know we have members of the community that have experienced this and gone through this and put time into this, but like multi-level marketing. Multi-level marketing, unfortunately, preys on certain people. Unfortunately. And I'm not... That's another thing that fires me up. I feel bad. I feel bad when somebody has promised something that they're not going to get.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many people in multi-level marketing that can make money. You'd be way better with the math than I would, but there's only so many people that can get 10 people to get 10 people to get 10 people before you run out of humans on the fucking planet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the math, but I know 10 to the 10th power is like 10 billion. There's not that many people. I'll let you explain that if you want to explain that. But it makes me sad because I think what a lot of it is confirmation bias. So imagine this, Alan. This is a really good example. A couple weeks ago, I got a call from a bank that I used to do business with. Mm-hmm. They called me up. "Hey, Kev, we just want to let you know that we're going to be closing one of your accounts, and you can either call us to keep it open, we can send you a check, or if you don't do anything, the government will take the money, and then you'll have to call them to get it." And I was like, "There's money? I have money in my account? Okay, cool. Let me call him." Call him up. "Hey, what's happening? I heard money. Here I am. What do I have to do to get access to these funds?" And they said, "Yeah, just let us know. Do you want to keep the account open, or do you want a check?" And I said, I'll take a check. I don't live near the bank anymore, and I don't need the bank. How much is it?" And they were like, $134.17. I was like, "Oh, cool. A nice little free payday." Imagine if on the first of the month, I blew cinnamon across my doorstep. I would think that's why the bank reached out to me. When the bank was going to reach out to me regardless. Because it's been 3 years or 6 years or 8 years since I used the account, they were going to reach out to me. That would be confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. It would be, that's why. Fudge was on medication. So Fudge was a Prozac cat because he was so anxious. For a while, he was a Prozac cat. Mm-hmm. And Tara and I had a conversation. I said, I don't want him to be on Prozac anymore. I feel like he's sadder. I feel like let's try it. And Taryn agreed. She's like, yeah, I feel like it's time. Now, I feel like he's more lovey and I feel like he's more brave and he's out and about. But I keep telling Taryn, I say, I don't know if that's confirmation bias. That's just me assuming that we did something and that's why we're getting the result, even though it could have been the same. It could have been this way the whole time and I just didn't notice it.
It doesn't sound like that's confirmation bias.
No,
in that
but
case. But
there's
it
probably
could be. The
some.
fact that you think it could be.
Yeah, there's probably some. Maybe it's not 100%. Maybe it's 10%.
Yeah.
20%, whatever it is. So the reason I wanted to do this episode is Alan said we have a responsibility to talk about stuff like this. Last thing I'll add, and then I'll kick it to you, Alan. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that is disguised as empowering, but it's disempowering. Mm-hmm. This is what I mean by that. I can't tell you how many side hustle pages I've come across where people claim that they have an ebook or a course that can teach you how to do side hustles, and all you need to do is sell 50 courses a day at $20 a piece, and you make $1,000 a day. You're making $365,000 a day. Do you know how hard it is to sell 50 of anything a day when you don't have an audience? Mm-hmm. Do you think? Let me ask you this. Let's do this. How many Dreamliners have we sold?
28.
We have sold 28 Dreamliners. We have over 1 million listens. We have listeners in 170 plus countries. And we get thousands and thousands and thousands of listens per month. And we have sold 28 this year. This year, we've sold 28.
Which is actually pretty good.
It is very good. I'm super excited about it. Shout out to the products team.
Yeah, literally.
But people are lessening.
Yeah. What it
selling
takes.
50 things a day.
No chance.
Is very, very, very challenging, especially if you're at the end of your road and you've tried a million other things and nothing has worked, and then you see a promise that all you have to do is sell 50 of these a day. But you have no audience. You've never done this before. That's not where you start. That is not where you start. That's where you get eventually if you do it for long enough, 5, 10. I mean, we're 7 years in, right? Maybe 10 years in, we'll be selling 50 of something a day. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe. So that's end rant.
No, I'm grateful, and I love when you get fired up about this. This is great. And again, not just...
It makes me sad. Because I could have been... When I was down and out and I hated my job, I was looking for every way to make money possible. Every way. I've said this before. I was going to buy cell phone cases, and I was going to resell them. I was going to buy a bunch of them from China.
Where did you hear about that?
I was looking all over the place. There was that. There was quizzes you could do online. You could review products. You could do this. You could do this. There was a million different things that I was looking at the time because I wanted to get out of my job and find a way to make more money. I probably would have fallen trapped to some of that stuff. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah. I get sad as well, and I try to... My number one core value, number two actually, number one is legacy, but number two is rationality. And rationality is something that it's just hyper logic, hyper reasoning. And mathematically speaking, I just think about it statistically, and I think it's really important, and hopefully I can inject rationality into this conversation. Not that you're being irrational. I think you're actually being I think you're accurate. It's very, very unfortunate to see. I coach one person who is a multimillionaire and he loves music, and he wanted to go into music. And he said, my dad told me, listen, I know you love music, but you're really good at math. And I mean, if you go to engineering school, you're going to do better. You're just statistically going to do better. I don't know what else to tell you. I know your passion's music. But, and I'm on both sides of that coin. It's a duality. It's on one end, you could have maybe made it as a musician. I seriously doubt it, statistically speaking. But you're definitely going to make it as an engineer with 136 IQ. Right? So all of us have to kind of do this cost value analysis in our brain. I mean, do you really think that this company is going to help you become wealthy? Or do you think that it's too good to be true? And if you really sit with it, you kind of know.
Yeah.
But the multi-level marketing thing, all that stuff, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the iceberg analogy. Being successful looks great. I actually sent you something yesterday, and then I ended up deleting it. It's one of those infographics about this is what other people see above the surface, and underneath it is discipline and consistency and rejection and failure, and these are the things no one sees. And to inject rationality here, you can't want level 10 results with level 1 effort. And you also can't expect, if 1,000 people do one of those things where it's like sell 50 things or whatever, believe it or not, one of them will end up doing it.
Yes.
And then they'll highlight that one person, and then they'll get another 1,000 people to do it. And that's the same with the lottery too. Unfortunately, the lottery is set up in a way where you show the one winner and you highlight them and celebrate them.
Somebody always wins.
Somebody always wins.
Somebody always wins.
But what about the 9,999,000 people who lost money in order to make that winner successful?
And how many dollars did that person spend to win the lottery?
I know.
I know someone who won $10 million, and he was at the store the next day buying more lottery tickets. He probably spent, maybe not $1 million, but he spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to win the $10 million.
Yeah.
But he probably blew it all, most likely.
So that's why Kevin and I spend so much time on this microphone, but also group coaching, everything we do, Dreamliner, you name it, just going back to the fundamentals that actually work. And I said this on yesterday's episode, which is I have a client right now who's making $10,000 a month on average. He's bringing home at least 4 of that on average. He's fit. You should see the transformation photo. It's wild. It's wild. It doesn't even look like the same person. But I'll be honest, that's 2 years of coaching. And honestly, here's the other part of the story people don't know. He coached with me for a year, then left in what seems like a little bit of a toxic relationship, and then came back. And so it's technically 4 years. But that, and if you want to go even deeper, it's technically, he's 29. So it's technically 29 years if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, right? So everything's an accumulation, and I think that any sort of quick win that you look at in a snapshot is going to highlight the good and then eliminate all of the hard parts that you and I joke often. When Kevin and I first met, I was on the beach. I was talking to a camera. I was starting my YouTube channel. I had a YouTube channel, Conversations Change Lives /podcast. And I had paid off $84,000 worth of school debt in a single year back in 2014. And then I had essentially invested $150,000 into stocks, technology companies, and S&P 500, all this stuff for a company called Vanguard. And Kev saw me not working, eating Chipotle, working out, starting my own business, starting my own brand, giving speeches. But what he didn't understand at the time, and I didn't know that you didn't understand this. I didn't know that no one understood this genuinely because I reverse engineer everything. And that's not me trying to be cocky. I do. I look at someone's success now and I reverse engineer their entire existence to figure out how they did it. And again, within the data that I have, I obviously don't know everything about everyone. But at the end of the day, I reverse engineer everything. I always try to figure out, like, how did that happen? And sometimes it's, oh, okay, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. So something had to go differently there. And then I figure out what the anomaly was and whatever.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
Kev didn't know that I was living off of my past success, not my current success.
No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I lived on a lake. I had a beautiful girlfriend. I was bodybuilding all the time, eating food, going out, buying books, buying courses, giving speeches, starting, recording videos, buying equipment. All that stuff was past success. What you didn't see was I was broke through all of high school and all of college. Then I made a lot of money after college. And then when I quit corporate, I still had that money. Yeah. But I was liquidating it. I was going backwards, not forwards. I mean, backwards to go forwards because it was an investment in myself and in my future. But I think that's one of the biggest things that's hard is if 10,000 people do something, there's going to be one that's wildly successful just by sheer luck. And then they're going to be highlighted. And some of them won't be by luck. Some of them will be by grit and hard work and all that stuff. But those people are usually not the ones that are the overnight shocking successes that get celebrated. And this is just a narrative bias. This is confirmation bias. This is rationality says if you think in probabilities, you're just not going to. That's like you're more likely to get struck by lightning than win the lottery sometimes, mathematically speaking. You need to think about that. I've never played the lottery. I never have, and I never will. I don't even think I've ever bought a scratch ticket except for to give to my mom or my sister on Christmas. I don't think I've ever actually bought a scratch ticket for myself. And I think that makes sense. And I have a person I coached last thing who's an AP calculus teacher. He's never ever, I asked him, and I already knew the answer before I asked. I said, have you ever played the lottery? He's like, dude, hell no. Of course not. You know math.
Yeah.
You're not gonna give, you might as well go give your money away to someone that's not even good. At least if you're gonna give your money away, give it away to something you believe in. Don't give it to the lottery, right? So again, and if anyone plays the lottery, please don't villainize me. Just honestly, I just want to help, and the only way I can help is to inject truth. You're most likely not going to win, and that's the math of it, not my opinion.
Well, anytime I've definitely bought, I mean, it's been a decade probably, but when I was younger, I definitely did. But I used to we have a casino close to Massachusetts. This was before Massachusetts actually had a casino called Twin
Which one?
River.
Twin River, yeah.
Twin River. Every time I went to Twin River, I went expecting the amount of money I had in my hand not to come home with me.
Yeah,
so I go with a hungie. That hungie is probably staying late. Probably not coming home from school, probably going to stay after. That was always kind of I tried to go in with that awareness, so I wasn't heartbroken when I lost all my money. Sometimes I won, sure, but not enough to make up for all the times I lost. The reason I wanted to do an episode like this is just because it just makes me sad. I just don't. The problem starts when somebody promises something that you're most likely statistically not going to get, and then you feel bad about you. I say this to podcasters all the time. We're not successful because we started a podcast. It wasn't the podcast that made us quote. It's not because it was a podcast and podcasting is easy. Just like if you want to start a YouTube channel or a coffee shop or whatever it is, a personal training practice, a physical therapy practice, an ice cream shop, just because you start that thing doesn't mean that thing is going to be successful. Even if it's the sexy thing, you could go start a TikTok. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful on TikTok, even though TikTok is the platform that everybody's talking about. But what can happen is you do that and you say, I did everything I was supposed to do and I didn't get any results. It's on me. I suck. Not necessarily. What if the people who are doing the thing are ahead in their mindset, in their discipline, in their organization? They just understand success better at this point. That's okay. In the beginning of this, if Alan and I started a podcast together and we did it for a year and then we separated, I wouldn't be as successful externally as Alan because Alan knows more about success than I do. But he could literally say, well, and then Alan could say, I started a podcast, then all of my dreams came true. And then he could make a course and say, all you have to do is get 50 new listeners a day, and then you'll have like 1 million listens in no time.
50 new listeners a day.
You know how hard that is? That's really, really hard.
That's impossible.
So I just don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody set up for failure, and then for you to own that and say it's because of me. It might be because of the mechanism you're trying to achieve success in, and most people aren't going to tell you that. I saw somebody I respect. He's in the health and fitness space. He's got an app. He's got several apps, but he produces these videos that are super high quality and always free on YouTube. And he said, the truth of the matter is, here are all the downsides of the thing that I'm telling you to do. And he said, be very careful, because if somebody sells you only upsides, they are either lying or they're unaware of what the downsides are. There is downsides to everything. Imagine, you don't watch TV. I don't really watch TV, but sometimes I see ads for drugs, like prescription drugs, pharmaceutical industry. At the end, they have to say all of the potential side effects. And it's always like, my goodness.
Temporary blindness.
Yeah, it's like
diarrhea.
I'll just have the headache. I'll just keep the headache. You know what I mean? I'll just stick with the headache.
That's a great metaphor.
Imagine if everything else did. Imagine if everything else did.
I know.
Imagine if the Instagram ad for whatever it is at the end said, just so you know, that 95% of people will not make a single dollar doing it, but the 5% of you that do, you'll make enough to replace your income. I'm willing to bet people would probably think differently. I do have to hop in a minute, so last thing quickly.
I know. I'm trying to think of how we can turn this into something actually empowering, because I ask this question, I would say often, I'd say probably every couple months, to Emilia. What is the seemingly empowering belief that is actually disempowering? What is the seemingly empowering belief that is actually disempowering? I think wanting to believe that affirmation and blowing cinnamon through your doorway and The Secret and that stuff, I do think positive thoughts are a good start.
100%.
I think affirmation are a great start. But we have an equation. I'm going to put it in the show notes. I've talked about this before. It's 1/10 of the equation. One of them is visualization and emotionalization, which is go into the future, visualize yourself with the trophy or with the home, or like vision boarding is step 2 in the equation. There's 10 steps. So the truth is 10% of the equation is affirmation. But the other 90% is things that kind of suck. And whether it's fitness, health, wealth, life, or love, the fundamentals that work, and you and I did an episode recently about everything in the short term that looks like a cred hit usually is really good for you long term. Driving that old beat up car is actually a cred hit in the short term, but you are saving a lot of money for the long term if you're investing it. Right. And so at the end of the day, just here's what I'll end with. Give up the quick fix, give up the magic bullet, give up the cinnamon shit, whatever the hell that is. Dude, I can't. Like, can you imagine if I came to you and I was like, dude, you know what I was thinking? What if we both blew cinnamon through our doorway? Like, have you ever heard me say stupid shit like that?
No, you would never say it. And again, I understand the desire to want to feel guided, and I understand the desire to want to feel like there's something greater than yourself, and that's all good.
But being misguided is not good.
Yeah, just don't bet on it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be unkind. I just
you want to do that supplementally, do it. You want if that makes you feel better, and that it's 10% of what you do, I am all for that. But if you think that's the 90% that's going to bring you results, I am afraid that you're going to end up wildly jeffed in the future. That's my heart-driven but no BS truth.
You've achieved your dreams to a very drastic extent. I would say more than most people ever will, statistically speaking. And everyone listening knows that, okay? I don't think we're going to be villainized for this. This is no BS, heart-driven but no BS. You've achieved your dreams more than most people ever will. You work for yourself. You own your own company. You're a podcaster. You get to podcast every day. You get to work from home. You have a wife. You have cats. You
I do.
are able to sustain your current lifestyle. You also bought one of your dream cars. You have achieved a lot of your dreams compared to what most people will ever achieve, statistically speaking. That is my truth. Okay, I think it's the truth, but it's also my truth. How much of that was hard work and things that really kind of sucked in the moment that ended up being
99%. Yeah,
Okay.
99%.
That's
I have on my screen, my TV screen, my screensaver, it's a vision board, and I see it every day. Awesome. But you have to do something to turn a vision into reality. And that's 99%. 99%. I told Alan today, it's like Groundhog Day. The alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock. I wake up every single day. I walk out, and I do the same shit. I like it. I happen to like it. But it is Groundhog Day.
But you don't like it every day.
I don't
right?
like it every day, but I also know I would like the alternative less.
Exactly. And you don't always want to do it, but it's worth it.
It's
worth
it.
it. And
we
that's
gotta
the
go.
empowering piece. I know.
We got to go
Okay.
because I'm going to be late for my next call, and you know the kid does not like to be late. Bad
fair.
look. He hates it. All right. Please subscribe if you haven't. Again, please don't villainize us for an episode like this. I want to add value. I feel a responsibility to tell what I believe is the truth based on what we've accomplished and how we've done it. So that is what this episode is. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
The manifestation equation will be at the link in the show notes.